Monday Moodle episode 4 did not quite go well. And I guess that's the whole point of Monday Moodle, is to set the mood of the week. How are you going to let Monday affect your week? Most of us, we go to work, it's Monday fun day, and we're already just miserable because it's Monday. And I, this morning, didn't have the audio prepared that I thought I was going to get to the day before on Sunday, so that I could just upload my Monday Moodle no problem early in the day. But a new fellow subscriber informed me that like a few minutes in, I forgot to cut out the time-lapse audio. When you like speed it up and it just has that eerie high-pitched sound really fast in the background. Yeah, well, rookie editing mistake. And that's the thing, I didn't notice it halfway through, but I guess there were some clips in that time-lapse that I just did not mute the audio in the time-lapse. That's unfortunate. So when I went to fix it, when he told me, I immediately set the video to private, was like, damn, that's embarrassing. Went to fix it, realized I didn't have some of the clips in that edit, so I couldn't. I don't know, it's the editing tool that I'm using right now. It's a super cheap one. It's all I got. I don't really want to pay for any editing apps or any of that BS. At least not at the moment. Yeah, so the doodle that I was going to post for episode 4, you're just going to have to see the final product of that on my Instagram. So I'll try to figure out how to link my Instagram below. You can go check that out. It's purple. I don't know if I named it on my Instagram, but you can just go check out my Instagram, just check it out. I'm starting to post on there more frequently. I have a couple other drawings and things that I don't have on my YouTube, or will never actually have on my YouTube. I just don't have the footage. But yeah, man, that was a bummer. I was like, damn, But I'm not going to let it affect me. It's cool. It is what it is. Clearly a mistake I had to make. Now I'll just learn from it, But it is kind of on me. I didn't fully check the entire audio throughout the video before I decided to upload it. I listened through some of it, was like, okay, sounds pretty good. Seemed like it worked, and then uploaded it. Hopefully by the time you hear this, it still uploads before going into Tuesday. Hopefully. I don't know how that's gonna go. 'Cause posting on my phone, like uploading, it takes a minute. It will be like processing, waiting, uploading, and then it tells you the time remaining. It will be like 8 hours, and then it will be like 33 minutes, and then you check 33 minutes from when it said that, it's like 7 hours. It's like, what the hell? Yeah, there's always issues. I don't know why. I have bad luck with technology. I've always run into issues like this, or editing problems, and which is what has hindered me from already having a lot more content than what I currently have, But I've been also racing in my mind some ideas, because I feel like I'm confident enough in my style, my unique style, that I will build an audience over time, for sure. Like, maybe doing a video where I do a bunch of different doodles, but they're all done with a different pen, or like I do a randomizer where I have to do a doodle in a certain color. There's a couple other projects and ideas I have for the future, but that's when I get maybe a little bit more professional. See how my mind's always thinking about the next thing, the next goal, the next outcome, the next art piece that I want to work on, or I'm envisioning, or I want it to be a certain way. Like even this doodle here, it did not turn out at all the way that I kind of thought the direction the drawing was going to go in my mind. And I'm an artist, clearly I'm going to critique myself in a very harsh way. It's a bad frame of mind to have, but it has its pros. It can keep somebody going outside of their comfort zone. It can keep you pushing and pushing and pushing, It's just like, how bad do you want something? But at the end of the day, it's just art, just enjoy the process. And that's what I've been doing. Just, if I have the creativity flow, and even if I don't, I'm going to get a blank piece of paper and see what comes out. And half the time, when I do a bunch of really bad drawings, it gets like neural pathways ingrained in my pen game, to where I start learning what didn't work. I start feeling and seeing patterns that do work, or new ways of drawing something, or trying to make a new perspective. And yeah, doodling can be complicated, or it can just be really simple and enjoyable, and you just go with the flow. And years ago, that was kind of what I told myself. I want to be an inspiration art where I'm just drawing from no reference, no idea really half the time anyways. I have to kind of start letting the drawing guide me into the direction that it's going to go based off what I've done. And then I start to get ideas, like these little lines in between those two structures. Like, I wouldn't have done that unless I, if I didn't draw it. It's just, I don't really know. I can't tell you the exact process in my mind when I'm doodling, but I can only explain it in a way to where it comes naturally as I'm just letting the first initial risk of not knowing where the project's going to go. Now, I have other doodles. You can call them doodles, but they're, I guess they're not really doodles. I guess truly none of my artwork is doodles. I take quite some time on these pieces, even these smaller 6x8s. But I do have other doodles where I do methodically kind of have a idea or a vision. And it's still, if you don't have the skill set, it's tough. It's like when you want to play something on guitar, but you don't have the motor functions in your fingers, or the skills to play it, or at that speed, or whatever it is, So you gotta just go back to the basics, the fundamentals. But I kind of want to be an image where all these artists out there, they're like, how to this, how to that, or how to improve this. It's how to get good at shading eyes. There is, I don't know, there's some basics that you want to have, or maybe there's phases you're going to go through as an artist. That's normal, right? At least I would think so. But it gets to a point where it's like, I don't want to, at least for me, I just didn't want to do what everybody else was doing anymore. I didn't want to feel like I had to draw a reference perfectly how I was looking at it, or I have to draw a portrait perfect. I have to get the shading down to the T, and I have to get the eye to look so realistic. And if I'm drawing an elephant, I have to get every little detail in the the skin of the elephant. Or if I'm drawing, I remember I drew a giraffe one time in high school for a certain art project, and very hyper detailed, realistic. But I didn't enjoy it. It was just like, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm that's just me though. I'm not knocking realism or any of that. A lot of skill goes into it, It takes a lot of dedication, dexterity, focus. Yeah, it's great. I love it, but I wanted to branch outside of that. I wanted to bring something new to art. And that's just by creating something that doesn't exist, just doodling something you're not going to find out in nature, or doodling something you're not going to find anywhere ever. It's unrecognizable. Like, I don't know what the hell this thing is. I didn't know what I was drawing. That's why people are like, what are you drawing? I'm like, I don't know. I just like drawing shapes and lines and curves and angles and edges. That's like, as you can tell in a lot of my drawings, I do the kind of the line shading where I just draw parallel lines. How I did in this. I do that all the time because I just enjoy it. So, if you're not enjoying your art, then maybe switch up the kind of style that you've been doing that you think you might enjoy. Because at first, I wanted to get my skills, to the level where I could do really realistic portraits, but it came to a point where I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I'm just like, this is becoming like a job now. But not every person is like that, If that's your niche, cool. But I personally have more freedom when I doodle like this and just go off whatever instincts the pen, I don't even know. Yeah, I'm just making shit up, to be honest. I'm just making it up on the fly. I used pink in this one on the outside. I don't really know if that was the best choice. Now that I'm thinking about it. See, that's just part of the process. Now I know. Maybe next time don't use pink. Or maybe if I use pink a different time on a different project, it might look good on that. Maybe you're looking at it, you're like, yeah, pink goes perfect with it. I don't know. It's a doodle, and everybody's going to look at it from a different perspective because it's like, it's an unrecognizable doodle. It's something that your brain has to sit there and pick apart for a minute. I feel like when it's fresh and it's as unique or different as this kind of style is, you have to pick it apart. You're like, why did they decide to, how is it so balanced but yet so chaotic, yeah, I just enjoy it. Really, here's where it started. So watercolor paper I use a lot now, right? I like drawing on that kind of rough texture where it's not so hot pressed, but I do have some smoother, fine paper I do enjoy using as well. But I've been hooked on that thick, rough watercolor paper that you've seen in all my doodles so far. My friend at one point that was also an artist, he had a bunch of 12 by 12 like stock of this really nice watercolor paper. I don't know where he got it from. I never really went out and bought art supplies that often. I would get things as like gifts, or every now and then I remember for like Christmas or birthdays I would get like a sketchbook here and there. But I really wasn't a sketchbook guy. Like, I have sketchbooks here at the house. They are nothing at all like what I actually like draw and doodle and what I enjoy doing. Like, it's either random stuff or I'm actually like legit trying to practice hands or something. Yeah, my doodles, you wouldn't even think it's the same artist compared to my sketchbooks. But he had that 12 by 12 paper, and I don't like sketchbooks. I wasn't really buying paper. I wasn't even really drawing much, but he was like, well, I have a bunch of this extra paper if you want to use some and draw. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I just started randomly doodling. And obviously I had influence from a couple YouTubers at the time, but I didn't know how to subconsciously do what they were doing. I just was like, okay, well, let me just create some random shapes and lines and see where my mind goes. And that's, yeah, my doodles, they're very two-dimensional for the most part. I try to make a couple 3D things in there, but for the most part, they're pretty two-dimensional. But yeah, that's how the style developed. I just doodled on these watercolor paper, 12 by 12, like thick ass watercolor paper. And the first one, I mean, I was working on it for like days. And I did another one and another one to where I was filling up the entire page. I was like, wow, this is actually, I kind of enjoy this. And I just kept doing it. But then, more years went by to where I didn't do it. And then I started to do it again. And then I wouldn't do it. And then pretty much since, I would say, like 2021 probably, past 4 years, I've been actually, for the most part, consistent. Just besides things going on in my life, moving around, family, whatever, I mean, it's not like I had a social media following. It's not, I'm having to start everything from scratch, and don't have TikTok. I deleted my Snapchat years ago. I deleted my Instagram on and off for several years. I had some fitness accounts on there, and I had, me went from in high, but I don't even use social media like that. That's why it's like all of this is, you're like, how is this grown ass man not know how to edit a little time-lapse video? Yeah, because I just don't use social media. It's really hard because I don't want to be fake to you guys. I don't know any of you out there. I don't know what you do in your personal life. I don't know who you are. I don't know what trauma you have. I don't know what the hell you've been through. And it's same for me. You don't know anything about me. All I want to do is just maybe spread some inspiration and give you the encouragement to doodle if you like doodling. Or if you just want to stop in and be like, hey, that's cool. I can appreciate that. It's not my thing, but, you can see where something is skillful. It's like Eminem in my opinion. Even if you don't like hip hop, there's like some older heads, whatever. When they hear Eminem, they appreciate and can still see where he's super talented and what he does, even if they don't like the genre. I want to be like that, to where it's like nobody's really asking for doodles or really cares that much probably about them. Everybody's got their own shit going on in their lives. The world's completely insane. That everything's so chaotic. It's hard to detach from the system when you're feeding the very thing. And that's why I think social media and getting on here is so difficult for me, because a part of me actually just wants to just live out in nature and not have to deal with anybody or anything. But it's just so unrealistic. It's just people's nervous systems, living in this high adrenaline cortisol state with the jobs and the buildings and the rigidness of everything, and you don't ever get a break or slow down. So it's a double-edged sword with society and social media. You gotta just pick your poison sometimes and try to control your environment as much as you can, because everything's fake nowadays. Everything's so fake. I mean, just even the things that get the most views are the fakest shit. It's the fakest shit that gets the most views. It's the dumbest shit that gets the most views. Because people are mindless and they just want quick, easy dopamine hits of entertainment. They don't want anything real or raw. But deep down, somewhere in you, that part that you forgot about, that part that this system is trying to suppress so much, that inner animal, that instinct in you, knows that you're chained to this. But the mind is so good at justifying all of your habits and your ways of thinking to protect your ego. It's I do it all the time with with food, with any vices I have, my mind is constantly trying to justify everything I do. Even when you make bad choices, your mind's trying to justify why you made the bad choice. Instead of just accepting the fact that you made a mistake. It's crazy. Just got a couple more minutes here. But yeah, I mean the multiple color in this doodle is pretty good. See, I just rant. I'm just talking out my ass, but yeah, I don't want to be. I just want to be an artist, and I think that is the most authentic way I can be on social media. If I just, because it's like nowadays, if you want to make it on your own, or if you want to really get yourself out there, you're gonna have to use social media as the tool. You're just gonna have to. And take me for example. If you're here now, when I'm just now small and starting off and recording from my iPhone and recording audio from my iPhone and sitting here in this very tiny little studio and desk I have, dude, that's why I have to usually do these small doodles, because I just have a small amount of space to record good angles from. I'm not making excuses, or maybe I am. And then my scanner on my printer, I want good, because if I eventually, I don't have a good enough camera to make solid images for prints and stuff like that. So if I do have good images, it comes from my scanner, but my scanners like can fit your standard paper, like 8.5 by 11, and most of my drawings outside of these small ones in this video and the Monday Moodles are like 9 by 12s. So a good portion of, my art's cut off on the scanner, and I can never seem to edit or get the most crisp right aligned angle of my artwork to get a good print done. So I gotta take them somewhere locally. I've been thinking about that. Maybe trying to enter a couple festivals this year, if not going into next year. We'll see. I'm still working on my portfolio. Not my portfolio, but just the vault of my artwork, because I have a lot of ideas I want to get out, and really most of the artwork and developed style I've gotten is really past 2 years, and I maybe have like probably 40 or 50 completed, doodles and paintings from the past 2 years, probably something like that. 40, 50, maybe I'm overshooting it, maybe not even that much, but quite a bit. But hope you guys like that. Peace out.